really briefly, guys, before we go ahead and get this video started, wanted to make you aware that only 16.5% of the people that watch the channel and watch the content are actually subscribed. And if you guys could, please give a like to the video, subscribe to the channel. It costs you absolutely nothing, and it makes a world of difference for us. So yeah, please help us out with that social contract. But let's get it started.
What's going on, everybody? This is Clay with the Pennsylvania Roller Coaster Club, coming to you today. A little different kind of video. Want to talk about this upcoming merger very briefly in terms of the parks and how they're going to be structured and organized, and where investments are going to go. And I want to try to do my best to keep it very brief. So let's take a look at these parks one by one. Again, as we know, the merger in just a couple days here on the 1st is going to finally close, and we're going to have one massive regional theme park corporation, Six Flags, trading under Fun, FUN. Now, Kings Island, definitely a top tier park. Carowinds, probably still going to be viewed as a mid-tier park for the time being. Kings Island, going to be viewed as a top tier park. Canada's Wonderland, going to be viewed as one of the chosen. Dorney Park, going to be left to be a middling bottom feeder. Knott's Berry Farm, going to be a mid-tier park. Michigan's Adventure, if I were a betting man, I would guess it's going to be sold. If you put a gun to my head, I'd probably go a little further and say it's going to be sold to Parque Reunidos. Remember, you heard that here. I've been clamoring about that for about 3 months now. California's Great America, probably going to close. I can't envision that changing. I can't envision the real estate company selling back at a loss, which is pretty much what it would require for California's Great America to survive. So don't see that happening. Six Flags Great America, I see them being one of the top tier parks. Six Flags Magic Mountain, I think they are going to be one of the chosen. Six Flags Great Adventure and Safari, I think they too are going to be one of the chosen, and possibly one of, if not the most important park of the chosen, in the way in which they are going to attempt to expand and really try to turn it into a full-fledged destination location resort. Super excited to see what comes of that park. If you live local to Great Adventure and Safari, you should be super jacked, because there are going to be so many unbelievable things coming to that park in the next decade. Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. This is a park also that I could see being up for sale. I have pretty compelling reasoning to believe that in the next 5 years, you could see Six Flags as a company in its entirety exit the Northern California market. Maybe not permanently, but I could see a scenario where Great America is closed and they relocate rides, and where Six Flags Discovery Kingdom is sold off, quite possibly to United Parks and SeaWorld Busch Gardens. So we'll wait and see what happens with that, but I still believe that is sound speculation. Six Flags Mexico next up on our list, and I can see them hanging out with the bottom feeders, maybe the top of the bottom feeders, but the bottom feeders nonetheless. La Ronde in a very similar situation. Now, this is not just a standard lease, it's an emphyteutic lease with the City of Montreal, which essentially means that Six Flags owns all of the contents. They own the rides, they own the structures, the buildings, they own all of it, but they don't own the land. The land is on this emphyteutic lease. to allow Six Flags to be the operator. I believe the lease was for like 55 or 60 years to begin. So quite a number of years left on that. But still, I don't see a ton of investment coming to the park. And, I think that's pretty fair to assume just based on how they have handled La Ronde in the last 10 or 15 years. So moving on, Six Flags Darien Lake. They are actually an EPR property, and it is not owned by Six Flags. So I could see a world and a scenario where that park is either purchased from EPR so that Six Flags can do with it as they see fit, which would be my personal preference because I think Darien Lake has an incredible amount of charm and a ton of potential. Or they could just break the lease with EPR and you could see another operator come in relatively short order. We'll have to see what happens after the merger. Next up, Six Flags Great Escape. And this is probably going to be a bottom feeder as well, right along with La Ronde, maybe even a little bit higher than La Ronde in the totem pole. But with them just getting Bobcat this year, I can't envision them getting anything for another, I would probably guesstimate 8 to 10 years as far as roller coasters go. But who knows? They may throw around a bunch of money early if the economy starts to have an incredible uptick. Next up, Frontier City. This is another EPR property, meaning that Six Flags does not own any of it. They don't own the land, they don't own the rides, they own nothing. So, again, we could be in a situation where they, either try to purchase the park outright from EPR, or you could see it being operated by another operator. And again, that could be in relatively short order after the merger closes. We don't know. Next up, Six Flags Fiesta Texas. I can see these guys being a top-tier park. And I don't think there's much question to that. The question is, how high out of the top-tier list does it climb in the priorities? Next up, Six Flags St. Louis. I see Six Flags St. Louis being right around Six Flags Mexico, in that every 8 to 10 years something major comes in. Next up, Valley Fair. I see them in the same ballpark, maybe even a slot below Dorney Park. But, we'll see. Dorney is one of those parks that although people think it could be sold, I think there is a 0% chance that Dorney Park gets sold. I think that it will be with the Six Flags Company for quite a long time. The placement of the park is remarkable for their interests. And what I mean by that is you are close to Philadelphia, you are close to New York City, but at the same time, you are close to the same area that Hershey Park is pulling guests and season pass holders from. So Dorney Park, very strategically located. And I think that they are here to stay and going to be safe. Six Flags New England, I can see them actually being in this mid-tier. They are the largest park to service the Boston and northern Connecticut areas. And it just makes sense to me. Even though recent investments, have not come to the park, it makes sense to me over the long haul. Six Flags over Georgia, again, I can see them falling into a mid-tier. The South is becoming ever more populated, and parks like Carowinds and Six Flags over Georgia, they are going to do very, very well. Very well. Nicer weather means longer seasons. It's always a win. Cedar Point, they are still the crown jewel. And I think that it's probably going to stay that way. But, I don't know how much longer the decisions are going to be made by whoever was making the decisions as far as adding new rides to that park. Six Flags America, I can see them also hovering around the bottom feeder area and in that Dorney Park category because they serve a very similar purpose being in that DC metro, not just pulling some people away potentially from the Hershey region, but pulling people away potentially from Busch Gardens Williamsburg for the day. Now, Six Flags over Texas, I see them being a mid-tier park, not joining Fiesta Texas. They will be more calibrated to Knott's and the Carowinds and over Georgia, New England. And finally, Worlds of Fun, they are going to be back middling as well with the bottom feeders. Really, St. Louis and Worlds of Fun's main purpose is to take away from Silver Dollar City.
And I believe that collectively spreading the wealth between Worlds of Fun and Six Flags St. Louis will be adequate. I don't think that they need a new roller coaster every 4, 5, 6 years. I think that both parks can get away just fine if once every decade they're getting a brand new roller coaster. Or at least that is the way that I perceive it. And to be more clear, the difference between the Chosen One parks and the top tier parks, I don't expect it to be that drastic. I think the Chosen parks, as I had them labeled, will probably see a new roller coaster or major investment every 3 to 5 years, whereas the top tier parks, probably every 4 to 6 years. And as I said, I would expect that bottom tier to still see a new roller coaster once every 10 years at a minimum, and probably closer to every 8 years, to be honest. And in my opinion, I think that's perfectly fine. If Six Flags ends up terminating the leases with the other parks, I will be disappointed. I'm referring to those EPR properties, but in the grand scheme of things, moving forward, the new company has ideology about how they expect every park not just to look, but how they expect them to operate and the types of attractions that you're going to be able to find in each of them. And if EPR Properties isn't willing to put the proper investments into the park, then I don't see a reason for Six Flags to continue doing business with them. So let me know in the comment section below, do you agree with my assessment? Would you swap around any parks to a different tier? And what's your take on the Darien Lake and Frontier City situation? Do you think that Six Flags could terminate the operating agreement? Also, let me know about Michigan's Adventure and Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. Where do you think those parks are going to end up, or do you think they're going to end up staying within the portfolio? I would love to hear your feedback, love to hear your thoughts on it, and see if we align in any way, shape, or form in the way that we're thinking and seeing this. So, thanks as always for watching, and until next time, guys, we'll see you out there.